to Clippers Talk. I'm Adam Osland. Good to be with you guys. Didn't expect to be doing a show today, but expect the unexpected here. That's why you should subscribe. That's why you must subscribe and save. Hit the alarm bell button. Whatever stupid shit people are always saying you have to do when you watch their YouTube channel. I'm also one of those people saying that stupid ass. It's good to be with you guys. Wanted to go live. Wanted to discuss LaMelo Ball. But before we get to that, I was just having a conversation about Brook Lopez. And I think this actually could be informative. Oh, I love when somebody says first when they're not. Sal said first, but Punk's Gone Wrong said sup before that. Jeffrey Bell is in here. Alex Webb said my favorite show is on. Thanks, Alex. Not a rerun. We on prime time. Friday night. Hip to Clip is in here. Scott, what's up? Juan Flores is in here. Daniel, David, Master of Keys. He had a quick answer. All right. So, a lot of people in here already giving their opinion. Mark Thompson just said on X, no shot. I don't think it's no shot for LaMelo Ball. But before we get to LaMelo, I want to talk about something else. I just saw this post from Ralph Lawler responding to Ron Harper. Awesome post. Shout out Ralph. One of my favorite people that I've been lucky enough to work with. If you missed last summer's Ralph Lawler interview, might be a good time to check that out. It's in the video section here. But we got more to get to. So I was just talking with a thread that started, innocently enough, by LA Clippers Coach D. I don't think he's an actual coach for the Clippers, but I could be wrong. He said, if I'm Lawrence Frank, I'm doing whatever it takes to sign this man this summer. It says this man his summer. It would be his summer if he came back to LA, maybe. Not a lot of moves available. No backup big in sight. Harden Lopez pick and roll would move mountains, would feed families. It's the updated version of that. So I responded to it. I said, with ya. Maybe I should keep it up. Maybe we should go through this. Maybe that'll make things easier. Walk with me, Clipper Nation. Somebody said right away, he can't play next to Zoo defensively. Great. That's not the point of getting him. This is about, I guess, getting the best backup center possible for Ivica Zubac to spell him for 15 minutes a night. That's what we're talking about here, right? I know Brook Lopez is not playing power forward next to Ivica Zubac just because he can shoot. Him having to guard fours and threes a ton on the perimeter would not be good, especially for guys, I think, about to turn 38 in Brook Lopez. Let me see. How old is he? Yeah, he's okay. He just turned 37. So he'll be 37 for about all of this season. But he's also played almost 80 games each of the last 3 years. He has been an Iron Man, much like Ivica Zubac, different in that he's 10 years older almost. He said, okay, first I said in my way of saying things. Y'all don't understand how much a legit backup center can help this team. Washed gambling Harden stand said, yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen Brook Lopez come off the bench, though. That is the point. If you can get a starting level center as a backup, you're doing good. How's how is this lost on people? I don't get it. I've never seen him come off the bench. That's the point. If you can get him to come off the bench, you're in great shape. This is easily their best backup big since they had Isaiah Hardenstein. I am a Brook Lopez fan. He's been one of the better rim protectors, a different type of 3-and-D guy. He evolved his game to becoming a three-point shooter later on in his career. Then I got this guy, Ryan Joseph Murphy, saying he was so bad this year. No thanks. What? I go, how? We talking 20 minutes a night. He would be their best backup center since Hartenstein. He replies, the Clippers need a backup center, Adam, but man, his numbers fell off dramatically this year. If he's only going to play 10 to 15 minutes, he could be worth a flyer, but would love someone at least a year or two younger. I go, how did his numbers fall off dramatically? His per 36 numbers are almost identical to last year. Y'all playing narrative basketball. He's still more than solid for a backup big. He was solid as a starting big again this year. I swear some people just don't watch. They just say, "Oh, he's older now. He's not the same guy." Ryan goes, "A backup big in the regular season, yes. Just don't think he can do much in the playoffs anymore. Our big issue is height in the starting five." He said in the playoffs he played less than 16 minutes in 4 out of the 5 games and didn't score in double digits in any game. Yes, regular season backup center can be useful, but just feel like playoff time he's going to be filler. No shit, he's going to be filler because Ivica Zubac is going to be playing 38 minutes per game in the playoffs. Like, what? Let's see what Zubac just played in the 7-game series against Denver, because I feel like it's somewhere around 38. Okay, 36.4 minutes per game. That's, of course, including a game where they were blown out and he only played 32 minutes in game 7, but he had minutes of 39 played in game 1, 40 in game 2, 33 in game 3 because it was a blowout, 41 in game 4, 37 game 5, 33 in game 6, 32 in game 7. It was a blowout. Okay. Like, this whole point of, well, no, the reason I said uh, his numbers fell off dramatically this year, Ryan here, about Brook Lopez is, I guess, because uh, of his numbers in the playoffs. He played, what, 5 games? It was a 5-game series against a bad matchup, not just for Brook Lopez, for the entire Bucks team against the Indiana Pacers in that playoff series. I'm not judging a guy on what he can do based upon just one playoff series against a team that loves to run and get up and down. Anybody going into that series knew he was a bad matchup for them. And yes, it only lasted 5 games, and he wasn't very good in his minutes. Okay. You don't think he could have been useful against Nikola Jokic this year? You don't think Indiana's kind of a unique team for somebody like Brook Lopez? That's just not a reason I'm not going to bring him in. Brook Lopez could help this team. Would he be willing to be a backup center? I don't know. Maybe at this point of his career, he'd be fine with that. Maybe he'd like to come back to LA. He had a year here, I think, as a Laker. He's obsessed with Disneyland. He's been in Milwaukee the last 7 years. Ryan eventually got to the point where he said, if he signed for a mid-level exception, okay, I'll take the backup center. What did you think he was signing for? They can't pay him $20 million a year or something. Then he starts talking about other Clippers issues. It's like, can we get just one at a time here? Just one at a time. It's just a post about somebody saying they should go out and get Brook Lopez. That doesn't mean that we're all saying this is the only issue and they don't need a power forward still, or they don't need a backup point guard still. No, we can walk and chew gum at the same time and say that they could use Brook Lopez and they could also, yes, do these other things. But this was just about Brook Lopez. Do you like him or not? He said he would rather this team get younger. I go, great. You think every team wouldn't like to get younger? You have to be realistic with who you can get and who's available and who can help regardless of age. And that's the main reason I brought this up, just to get to this point when we're talking about free agency and trades this summer. Everybody wants to get younger. The same guys that you want, all the other teams want. You have to be realistic about it with who you can get, who you can afford. Like, you can't, you're not going to have the world here. I, I'm sorry, but if they could get Brook Lopez on a reasonable deal as the backup center, that would be a win for the Clippers. Absolutely. Ryan and I eventually came to an understanding here. He agreed getting younger is incredibly difficult without picks. Okay, this is my point. I know you'd like to get younger. We'd all like this team to get younger. It's hard to find those young guys that are also good, that are going to be available, or that you can afford via free agency or through trades. So, as a side note, before we get to this LaMelo Ball conversation, I just want to bring this up. I think it could be helpful to what other people are thinking about. Yeah, a lot of you in here saying he'll be a great backup. Alan NG saying he's not a winner. You know he won a championship with them, right? Who are you talking about? You talking about LaMelo? You know he's only been in the league for like 3 years and is in Charlotte, right? I don't think we can assess whether or not LaMelo Ball is a winner or not. Jeffrey said, I'd like LaMelo. We just can't trade our picks. Good evening, Tom. Good evening to the Adams family. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Hair is especially puffy today. I think that's a good hair day. Goofy said, could we possibly get Claxton, or is the Lakers more likely to get him? I don't think you can get Claxton as your backup. And he can't play power forward next to Ivica Zubats. I'm going to say this a lot, and already have going into this summer. When you guys talk about getting a power forward, the first thing you need to think about, a starting level power forward, is can he shoot? He has to be able to shoot to be a starting power forward on the Clippers, playing next to Ivica Zubats, or else it is going to cramp your spacing. That's the only way it is going to work. Uh-oh, Quentin Cornett's in here. The man who wanted Ben Simmons minutes in Game 7. Hey, maybe it couldn't hurt. Did he get in the fourth when they were down 35? Quentin Cornett is in here. The man who wanted Jimmy Butler for Kawhi. The man who thought Ivica Zubats, all he did was dunk. But he made amends for that. It's all about forgiveness here. We need a young possible star, says Liberty. Who doesn't? That's the thing. All the stuff that you guys want, all these requests are often very similar line of thinking to what other teams are looking at as well. Santi Aldama is interesting. I don't know where he's at defensively. His rebounding. He can shoot. He can shoot. He fills part of the criteria for playing next to Ivica Zubats. I don't think he's an elite rebounder or defender out there, but he can shoot. I don't know if I'd rather have Yabusele, probably. Um, let's continue though and stick with, you know. Oh, Goofy agrees with me. Well, Yabusele is the best bet. I only mentioned Claxton to play when Zoo gets rest, but yeah, it won't work properly. They're not going to be able to get Claxton as a backup big. That's why I said unless you're thinking power forward, which also doesn't work. Nick Claxton's a starting big, so that's not happening. The reason I say Brook Lopez maybe could be at that point of his career where he was willing to come off the bench is because he's 37. Claxton's not doing that. Oh God, Quentin Cornett. If Milwaukee wants Zubas in a trade package, would you do it for Giannis? Sure, but they're not going to do that. The Milwaukee Bucks. They can get a lot more for Giannis. They're going to want picks and young players. Ivica Zubats is 28. That's just not something that's going to happen. Again, we got to be realistic about some of these moves. Venkata said top trade targets this offseason. Of course, a lot of teams are saying the same thing. I'll take Yabusele as a power forward. Can you afford him? How much do you guys think Yabusele is going to get? I believe he was just on a minimum, on a prove it deal in Philly, outperformed his contract. He's 30, doesn't have a lot of NBA miles, but he's played overseas. How much do you think Yabusele gets? What do you think he ends up getting as his deal? 50 million? 60? 80? I don't know. Because I wonder if some guys get overpaid this summer because the market just isn't that robust overall. You don't have a lot of top stars, you could say, that are available. Goofy thinks Aldama is a good defender from what he's seen. I wonder what the consensus is or what some of the numbers say. GPT, whatever, Gemini, I guess, on Google. He's known for his ability to guard multiple positions. How good is he as that? I think he's solid. If he's solid and can shoot, yeah, that'd be nice. Let's look at his contract and what we're talking about here. We will get to LaMelo Ball. We will get some interesting sound regarding LaMelo Ball. So he's only he's a restricted free agent, is the problem, guys. Doesn't mean you can't get him, but it does mean the Memphis Grizzlies could match whatever you offer and retain him. He's 25. How much would you be willing to offer Santi Aldama and make it so the Memphis Grizzlies don't want to get him or don't want to hold on to him? Coach D Sports, I don't know if he's talking about Yabusele or Aldama, but 10 to 15 million a year. I do think the Grizzlies are going to shake up their team, Goofy, but that might mean they let go of, let's say, Ja Morant or trade Bane or trade Triple J because they don't want to pay him. But I think they want to hold on to Triple J because he's young, still getting better. I think that's the guy you build around. If they could trade Ja Morant, that could happen. Would you guys want Ja Morant? His ceiling is lower than I think what we thought a couple of years ago because of his lack of shooting. Here's a sarcastic post. Y2 Kenyon said, how about we just get Giannis, Steph, and LeBron with Kawhi and Harden unless you're trading Harden for him? We need less stars and more heart, I think. A forward be nice who can post up at will. Maybe it's not sarcasm. Now I can't tell. Coach D said Bane was yelling and ended up in a push fight with Aldama because he doesn't play defense. Triple J would be amazing on our team, playing power forward next to Zubats. How on earth would they be able to get Triple J? I'm going to say it again. Can we be realistic, please? Can we be productive and realistic with these conversations? Okay, Scott, no to Jaw. Fair enough. Now Jeffrey is taking the sarcasm route and going, let me get a time machine and get MJ. I'll have to teach him how to shoot threes now. Quentin said, would you want Kuminga? What package would you put together? Powell and what else? Powell, DJ, a first. That might be what it takes to get somebody like Kuminga, honestly. And then what are they paying? We're talking a sign trade then with the Golden State Warriors. Levi Ivan said, how can we get Austin Reeves? I think it's going to be hard. He only makes $13 million. And the Clippers don't have what the Lakers need. They need more size. You're not giving up Zubats. So how do you make that exchange to get Austin Reeves, who I am a fan of? I'm also a fan of LaMelo Ball, who we've yet to get to in an episode where I titled it LaMelo Ball to the Clippers? ? No one can know if it's an overpay or not because Kuminga's potential and ceiling. A first, Norm and DJ for a young building block player who's still 22, and his last, 3 games of the playoffs, he got 30, 23, and 26 against Minnesota. They were all losses, a couple of them really close, but I am a Kuminga believer. I always have been. Maybe I could pull up a tweet I put out years ago, I think, and prove that I like Jonathan Kuminga. Because I think that would be an exciting get because it tells you a guy who could potentially be a future face of the franchise, one of the future cornerstones of the franchise. And they don't really have many guys like that unless you're talking about Ivica Zubats. Let me see if I can find this tweet for you guys. I thought I put something out there before where I said Kuminga is going to be a star. Ooh, I found it. March 8th, 2022. There's a receipt for everything. Reach up to 100K more users. I don't care about that. Get out of the way. I'm trying to show these guys. I don't want to promote it. This is from March 8th of 2022. So on the Warriors' way to winning the championship eventually that year, I said, seen enough. Kuminga going to be a star. How will this age? So I'm a fan. I see the vision of Kuminga. Kuminga and Moody for DJ and Powell. They're going to want a first also, I think. I think they can get it. Maybe a couple seconds, 3 seconds. Teo said, LaMelo, too much assets like the Paul George trade. M said, what's the point of giving up assets for the 30th best player? And that's a reach. You're saying LaMelo's the 30th best player in the league? I mean, that is a reach at this point. We also don't know how much Kuminga is going to make. He's a restricted free agent. He could get 222, a 5-year, $200 million plus deal. I don't think he's going to get that. I don't think a team is going to throw that much money at him and make the Warriors have to make a decision. Quentin, I don't know what you're talking about. Adam, seriously, Zubats and Powell to Brooklyn. What haul are we getting back to Brooklyn? Why would they want to trade Zubats to Brooklyn? What haul are you getting back? What are you talking about? Why doesn't Kerr play Kuminga consistently? Maybe there's attitude issues. Maybe he's just not a good fit there. Maybe he's not a Kerr guy. They run a lot of motion, movement in their offense. It's completely different than the Clippers. It's different than just about every team. And maybe it was a bad fit. Kuminga is an explosive athlete, ISO type player, I think, is what he projects out to be. I don't know. It's been a mystery up in NorCal. Golden State Warriors fans have been frustrated. Liberty says, do you think Clips would ever do a trade like the PG one again? We built OKC and gave away a superstar. If they knew they were giving away a superstar and a future MVP, I don't think they would have done it. But here's the deal. Nobody knew that. Everybody said at best SGA is an all-star, not a superstar, not a top 5 player. You can go down that path and relitigate the trade and do that till you're blue in the face. I don't see the point of talking about it as much as other people would like to. I do see the Halliburton potential from LaMelo. That is one of the comps. I was going to bring that up, Em. Great minds. Em said, I want Giannis or Ant, only guys we're trading for. Good luck getting them. Good luck. Coach D said, heard from Warriors channels that Kuminga doesn't fit well next to Jimmy or Steph because of the poor spacing, and Kurt likes shooters, and Kuminga needs the ball to be efficient or optimize his game. This is true. He projects as a guy that has the ball in his hands a lot. That he's playing ISO, you're running offense through him. He has a high usage rating. That doesn't work right now. They need more of a role player type that can blend in with the guys they already have in Golden State. Art H said, I like Melo, but unfortunately it's a pass. Way too injury prone already at a young age. He's built like a stick. You tell me what the trade is fully, Quentin, and we'll talk about it. Teo said, we don't have a first rounder. They do have a first rounder. They do. They have one first round pick they could trade. Quentin said Zubats and Powell are our only major assets. You're not necessarily wrong there. Mostly said Kuminga would be a nice pickup. I would do a Powell move for him or Portis. They're not doing him for just Powell. Powell, DJ, and maybe the first round pick to get Kuminga. I've told you a million times, I think Amir's gone. I think the writing's clearly on the wall. Permanent ink. He didn't play at all in that playoff series. Mio said, got to hold on to Zoo. Kim Ball said, let's hear your perspective on a LaMelo trade. All right, let's get into the LaMelo stuff. I've gone far, far too long here without actually diving in to the audio that came out a little bit earlier today on, what is this, Lonzo Ball's podcast, I think. Everybody got a podcast, including this guy. Let's hear from Lonzo Ball.
I got Dylan Harper. I low-key got Dylan Harper going to the Hornets.
Ooh, at 4?
And I got Melo going to the Clips.
That's what needs.
Well, we just skipped over the third pick, huh?
You want to hear that again?
I got Dylan Harper. I low-key got Dylan Harper going to the Hornets.
Ooh, at 4?
And I got Melo going to the Clips.
That's what needs.
Well, we just skipped over the third pick, huh?
Look at the shrug he gives. As they're
That's what
laughing.
needs.
Well, we just skipped over.
I'm just saying. That's what the look I'm getting from Lonzo is there. Does he know something? Is there mutual interest? He obviously can know what LaMelo wants. And LaMelo would love to come to LA, I'm sure, and would love to be a Clipper. I'm sure. This is a good point by Mio to counter what people are saying about Melo. Oh, he was injured too much already in his career. That's not good. Well, Steph was too, and he overcame it. Luis said, the raw truth is that we need a rebuild, not free agents. Now, I'm about to do something dangerous. I want you guys to hear from LaMelo's father talking about the Clippers. This was last year in 2024. Where is it? He mentioned how he wanted all his sons to play for the Clippers. Let me see. Here we go. Let me pull this up for you guys. So just connecting some dots here. We heard from Lonzo earlier today. This was LeVar last year in 2024. Well, Lonzo did re-sign with Chicago this past season. And by the way, whatever you think of LeVar Ball, you think he talks too much. He loves his sons. He's a good dad. Like, of course, he's biased, and he said some ridiculous stuff over the years. Whatever. I just want to present the full picture here of what could happen if there was a trade for LaMelo Ball. How would that look? Who would the Clippers give up? Again, hearing Lonzo talk about him like that and say he thinks LaMelo is going to get traded to the Clips. He can have intel from his side. I don't think he knows anything about the Clippers side. Would the Clippers like LaMelo? I don't know. He has positional size. He has shooting. He has passing. Is he an offensive engine? He is for a bad team. Can that scale up to being a more efficient player who can do it at a much higher level for a good squad at some point? As he is very, very young. LaMelo Ball is 23. You guys have talked about the injury concerns with him. They're real. I'm not doubting them. He hasn't had, I don't think a surgery, but he has had ankle injuries that have kept him out for a significant amount of time. Ugh, more than I even thought. So his first year, he played 51 games. Was rookie of the year. Second year, played 75. Was an all-star. Third year, played just 36 games. Fourth year, 22. This year, just 47. Now, the scoring did go up to 25 points per game this past season in those 47 games. He also, I believe, attempted the most field goal attempts in the NBA this season. LaMelo Ball wasn't exactly the most efficient player out there. His effective field goal percentage was below 50%. He shot 41% from the field, 34% from three. My guess is he goes anywhere else, they're going to have more of a pecking order. He's not going to be able to have full carte blanche on what he's able to do out there. He's not going to be able to take 21 shots a night. Might be taking 15 shots a night real quick. But in Charlotte, the fans came to watch LaMelo, the modern day Pete Rose. Excuse me, not Pete Rose, Pete Maravich. Pete Rose has been on the mind recently with him being reinstated and eligible to make the Hall of Fame from Rob Manfred. That's the only place that's coming from. We're not talking about any gambling or anything. Simple slip of the tongue. Everybody chill. Everybody relax. Zitmo said Lonzo Ball would be a better fit, a true point guard and defender. Well, he just re-signed with Chicago, so you got to trade for him. I agree with this from Liberty. Lonzo had a dead serious look on his face when he said it too. He was not laughing. What's the context of Lonzo's statement? Obviously, they were talking about who's picking who in the draft. Coach D said, I do think LaMelo and his dad would love to come to LA. Luis, who's always in doomer mode. LaMelo is injury prone. That doesn't play defense no more. Please, we suffered enough. I can understand that viewpoint. I can. He's been very injury prone. So has Lonzo been. Lonzo's game I really liked as a role player contributor on a championship team. I think he could have been that. I think he could still be that in the right situation. It's not Chicago, but you'd have to trade for him now. Mio said LaMelo is 23. You hope Ty can iron out his wrinkles. Yeah, like you're going to have to really give him some coaching. He is a wild stallion right now. That's who LaMelo Ball is. He has a lot of potential. He takes really tough off the bounce three-pointers that he can get to go. I know he only shot 34% on the 11 threes he took per game. He's also taking just some wild shots. He can be much more efficient if he reins it in, if he plays within the offense much more. And that is what's going to happen to him if he's going to be a winning player in this league. I'm intrigued by LaMelo Ball because of his SoCal roots, sure. But I'm telling you guys right now, a lot of you who are down on some of these moves, like for LaMelo or for Trae Young, who are you going to get? Who are you going to go out there and realistically get? These might be the guys who are going to be available are going to have some flaws, or else they wouldn't be moved in the first place. So you can't act like beggars can be choosers. Not how it works. You're begging for young talent. You're begging for exciting players. these might be the guys that you have a better chance of getting. They are. They have to be. The question is, can you bring them in and get a better version of that player? That's what we're talking about here. LaMelo's in a bad place in Charlotte. They've been in a constant rebuild. Not exactly a lot of stability with ownership, with coaching, with roster construction. We don't know who LaMelo Ball can be. The question is he worth taking that risk on versus another direction the Clippers could go? Ex Mongo brings up something we have to talk about, because if you bring in LaMelo, obviously that means James Harden is not here. Was that L. Frank's contingency plan in case Harden leaves? You think he revealed his contingency plan? I remember him talking about it, if I remember correctly. He mentioned he has to have one in case Harden leaves. He didn't reveal what it was. You can think maybe it's a trade for LaMelo, maybe it's a trade for Trae Young. Who are the guys you're giving up? How do you put together a trade package for LaMelo Ball, who just got paid? He's at 4 more years on his deal, I believe. I'll share the screen with you guys so you can see it too. Know exactly what we're talking about here. He's making $37 million next year, 40 after that, 43 after that, 46 million. He's an unrestricted free agent summer of 2029. So obviously you bring him in, and even if James Harden is out, he is taking up some of that cap room that we've talked about in 26 and 27. But in 27, he's taking up $43 million in 27-28 season. You might still have, honestly, you might still have 80 million to play with, because I think the Clippers could have upwards of 120 million in 2027. That's assuming Kawhi and James Harden are both off the books. That's going to be like $90 million right there. So I think you have to look at it from that perspective. How much of the cap is he taking up? How much are they going to have to play with? Is it worth taking a risk on this guy? Young, intriguing, star potential player. I mentioned during the draft when we did it live here, I think on our last show on Monday, that I think the LaMelo situation is real. I think there's a real possibility. Mosi said, let's get LaMelo. Let's trade for Lonzo as well. Lonzo just got, I think, 10 million a year from, or did he get a 2 year, $20 million contract is what he just signed. When everybody was talking about trading for him this last trade deadline, Chicago said, here you go. Here's a 2 year extension, 10 million a year. Good for him. He's still just 28. Lonzo Ball. I'm a fan. The injury he had was pretty scary. They used like a cadaver bone or something to try to fix his knee, but he looked pretty good last season. Good enough to get a new deal. I would love both of them playing together. I would. I'm a fan. I think Lonzo Ball is a high-level role player. I think LaMelo obviously has all-star potential. He's already been an all-star. Does he have number one on a championship team potential? Can he be Tyrese Halliburton? That's what his game reminds me of. His downhill attack, his slight frame, his funky shot that does go in. He reminds me of Halliburton. He's 2 years younger. Remember, I'm the guy that said the Kings never should have made the trade. I said it even after they made the run to the playoffs in 2023. I said it's still not going to age well. Never do that trade. Halliburton for Sabonis. Never should have done it. He's blowing up in their face now. Goofy said, bro, Harden to the Hornets for LaMelo is hilarious if that's the case. Harden has a player option. He could opt in for $35 million. We're all assuming he's going to opt out and get a new 2-year deal for $80 million. So he gets a bump of $5 million more per year. If he just doesn't have a trade clause, they could move him after that. But I don't think they're going to re-sign Harden just to trade him right away for LaMelo Ball. I don't think they're going to do business like that. This would have to be, I think, Harden deciding to leave to get LaMelo Ball. Here's what has to happen. Harden would have to decide to leave, first of all. Now you have to offer the first round pick you have, or the trade's dead on arrival, plus probably Derrick Jones Jr. and Norman Powell. Maybe they want Kobe or Jordan Miller. Maybe they want Cam Christie. Maybe they want all your second round picks, the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, some people thought Halliburton was a budget Halliburton until he turned into this guy. Now, I knew. But it's really the last 2 years where he's proven to be a winning player. But you're right. He's been a more efficient player than LaMelo Ball, even when he was at the same age as LaMelo Ball. A lot of this, I think, is coaching. They've given LaMelo probably too long of a leash, I would say. Letting him do whatever he wants out there. But depending on who they pick in the draft, and again, this is all stemming from a Lonzo Ball prediction. I'll play it for you guys again from earlier today on the WAE show. He's the one that's furthering this rumor. And, you know, we ain't got a lot to talk about. Knicks are blowing out Boston. Why not have the LaMelo conversation?
I got Dylan Harper. I low-key got Dylan Harper going to the Hornets.
Ooh, at 4?
And I got Melo going to the Clips.
That's what needs.
Well, we just skipped over the third pick, huh?
I got Dylan Harper. I low-key got Dylan Harper going to the Hornets.
Ooh, at 4?
And I got Melo going to the Clips.
That's what needs.
Well, we just skipped over the third pick, huh?
I got Dylan Harper. I low-key got Dylan Harper going to the Hornets.
Ooh, at 4.
Now, you can say it's flawed, his reasoning there, because I don't think Dylan Harper's going to drop to 4. 6'6" guard out of Rutgers. His reasoning is they're bringing in LaMelo's replacement, and then they trade LaMelo to the Clippers. Now, I did bring up during the draft, had they gotten the number 2 pick or the number 3 pick, they could get Dylan Harper. And that could set this in motion with LaMelo being moved. But I don't think he's going to drop to 4. I don't, Scott. So, as much as I love Lonzo, and I'm interested in what he's saying here, I don't think it's getting out of the starting blocks because Dylan Harper is not going all the way back to 4. He's probably going 2. Metal Slug said LaMelo is a show-off, no direction, but it is Charlotte. You have to look at the different variables here. What happens if you take that guy out of Charlotte? Is Charlotte still in him? Is that style of play still in him? Or can he be a different type of player somewhere else? And it's more so Charlotte's a really bad situation. No, they don't have a ton of direction. And therefore, it's a lot of random basketball. Coach D said, enabling Melo to do whatever he wants. Coach D said, and even if LaMelo requests out, he has 4 more years. Charlotte could just say no and trade him somewhere else for more assets, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. If LaMelo wants out, he has no leverage. He took the money. He got $200 million, the rookie extension. I was saying on Monday, as we were watching the draft live here, this would be really interesting if somehow they got the second pick in the draft, got Dylan Harper, then LaMelo's in play to be moved. Because you could say maybe he doesn't fit with this iteration of the roster in the Charlotte Hornets, and he doesn't fit the timeline anymore. He's still young enough, but do they have assets to go up to 2? Trade LaMelo? That's the asset. No, I don't know their draft situation fully, Ryan. Michael said PJ Tucker is on the Knicks roster. It will be ironic if he wins another NBA championship this year. Do you know what ironic means? Is this Alanis Morissette in here? Something unexpectedly amusing? I don't think this would be that, to me at least. Knicks going to the Western Conference Finals, guys. They're beating Boston so bad that they have to move to the West now. They got to go to the real conference. I got you, Scott. I just don't know who's on the horizon in free agency that the Clippers, who is the obvious choice that you're looking at down the line in 2026 or 2027 for the Clippers? There just aren't many guys in 2026. Damian Lillard has a player option. He could be a free agent. Bradley Beal has a player option. He could be a free agent. Kevin Durant's an unrestricted free agent after this year. Trae Young has a player option. He will be a free agent after this year. Luka Doncic, he's going to re-sign with the Lakers this summer. Maybe not for the full max, so then he can get to 10 years of service and then get the $400 million max instead. Zach LaVine has a player option in 2026. Here are some of the free agents, unrestricted. Fred VanVleet. This is after this year, summer 2026. Fred VanVleet, Kyrie Irving, James Harden currently, DeAndre Ayton, De'Aaron Fox currently. He's going to be extended. CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Kristaps Porzingis, Julius Randle. The well has gone dry, guys. I'm sorry to say. Andrew Wiggins could be. He has a player option. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's going to get extended this summer. Tobias Harris. Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons I've talked about before. Somebody make a move for him before he has a chance to become an unrestricted free agent. Does Portland say, okay, we're just going to roll a scoot here, and they'll dangle Anthony Simons because they don't want to pay him after this contract or don't want to give him what he could end up making. Is that even accurate? Let me check this. I do like Anthony Simons. Yeah. He is unrestricted after this season. He makes about 28 million this year. And he's unrestricted and probably going to get around 150 to 200 million. Is Anthony Simons the guy? Is that what you guys want? How do you feel about that? I like him. How do you feel about it after I list all these free agents that, quite frankly, this list isn't that impressive? Mikal Bridges in 2026. Aaron Gordon in 2026. Hey. Nikola Vucevic, no. Marcus Smart, Harrison Barnes, Norman Powell, Duncan Robinson, Colin Sexton, yeah. Zach Collins, Yusuf Nurkic. Just, what are we? Kevin Herter, PJ Washington, Mitchell Robinson, Jordan Clarkson, Naz Reid. Yeah, he's going to get paid. But that's after. Ooh, he's going to get paid this summer because he has a player option right now for $15 million. He's going to opt out, and we're not going to be able to afford him, I don't think, unless they want to go over the first or second apron for him. That would have to be another deal where James Harden decided to leave, then they brought him in. I don't know. You can plan for a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Who's the next guy? If it's not LaMelo, Anthony Simons, Trae Young, we're talking about some unknown face of the franchise that is going to end up being some disgruntled player that the Clippers just swoop in out of nowhere and take away from a team that we didn't know was going to be available. That's what it's looking like here. Reasons that I feel like LaMelo is inevitable, no matter how people feel about it or the questions they have about it, how it's going to happen. Steven Adams and Brogdon split the mid-level exception. Goofy said problem about Simons is that a team like the Magic could use him. They have more assets and contracts. Like KCP. It's not Contavious with a C. Art, where were you? I don't think they're trading for Melo if James is still on the team. I could be wrong. I think trading for Melo would be James decides to leave, then they go hard after LaMelo. All right, what about summer of 2027 when the Clippers could have like $120 million to play with? Jimmy Butler's a free agent at 37 at that point. Anthony Davis at 34. No, he has a player option, sorry. Nikola Jokic is a player option. Paul George is a player option. I wonder if he'll take it. Kawhi will be a free agent summer 2027. Zach LaVine, Luka Doncic for now. Trae Young for now. None of these teams with these assets, with these great players, are going to let them get to free agency. They're going to trade them beforehand. They're not going to lose them for nothing. The only time you do that is with Paul George because he's 34 and you don't want to give him $200 million and you'd rather just have the flexibility of being under the first apron, the luxury tax. So you have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is technically a free agent in 2027. Will he get an extension before then? Yes. They're not just going to lose him for nothing. Jordan Poole, he'll be almost 28 then. in 2027. Tyler Hero, he'll be 27. Isaiah Hartenstein, he'll be 29. Miles Bridges, Draymond Green, DeMar DeRozan, Cameron Johnson. I know some people would like to bring him in now. I would too, but he's also been injury prone outside of this year. Where are the big name guys coming from in 2027 that the Clippers are going to be able to use with all that cap room? Herein lies the problem. You got the cap room, but what you need is actual assets because you're going to have to trade for these guys. They're not going to end up, the superstars, being free agents. That's the new NBA. Makes it way more difficult with the CBA to bring in guys, which is my argument for why the Clippers had to do the trade they did at that time for Kawhi and Paul George, because those type of things rarely ever come around, and they're going to be even more rare under the new CBA. So yeah, it's kind of slim pickings. Summer 2026 and 2027, when you're talking about the upper echelon, highest end talent. And we are. So again, if you could get LaMelo, would you do it? Liv said, would you want Melo on the Clips? Let me know what the trade is, but I'd be interested. The realistic assets we give up, it starts with that first round pick. Maybe Norm and DJ. Maybe Cam Christie. They probably want Cam Christie. A young team like Charlotte. Maybe Jordan Miller. I mean, look, another team could come along with a better trade package, that's for sure. LaMelo's agent, I don't know if who's his agent? Is it his dad? Is it Rich Paul? They would have to say, we only want to go to LA. But the thing is, his contract's 4 more years. So any team can say, that's great, you want to go to LA. We're trading for you, and you're under contract for 4 more years. Sure, teams will want Booker, but what's that going to take to get? Metal Slug said, honestly, the Clips have been a great destination for players. Some players want to come play for the Clips, but money is the issue. I'm not talking about role players and contributors. I'm talking about how do you get the next face of the franchise? Because those guys you have to trade for. And if you're trading for a young guy that you're going to build and grow with, they probably have some flaws, like LaMelo or Trey. They're not perfect, or else they wouldn't be traded. They're going to have to take a risk somewhere. So when I think about LaMelo and Kuminga, I'm like, yeah, I'd probably do it. Because I think the Clippers are going to have to take a risk. They're going to have to bet on somebody and hit. That's the only way, if you don't have draft picks and high draft picks, that you're going to end up with a superstar young player. Liv said, just asking because he's pretty injury prone as well. Another star like that for the Clips would suck. Has it always been ankle issues with LaMelo? Liberty said, I don't see the Clips offering Harden another contract. We need to get younger. I'm on board with LaMelo or Trae Young. Stick around, Liberty, because I'm pretty sure they are. I am pretty damn sure. I see the Clippers offering Harden another contract. Because like the best option they got. And it's a pretty good one, considering how good he was for 78 games in the regular season, or 79 games. How else do you find a guy with that level of production that raises your offensive floor as much as James Harden? Fawn Bear said, I think we need to start from scratch after the picks is sent to OKC. It's not just OKC. They got a pick going to Philly that was used to get Harden. That's another reason I don't think they want to just let him go for free. They gave up a first-round pick for James Harden. They will absolutely be trying to get James Harden back. Jay said, side note, with the Celtics on the brink of elimination, if the Clippers made it out the West, would it have been our first championship? Man, they didn't make it out the first round, so I refuse to answer this question. People like this can never actually explain or hold their own in an argument. Orange Fraser crap is GM. Not the worst, but definitely not the best. We need a GM with vision. He has vision. Build a team that can compete now while they're waiting to get their picks back, while they're waiting to open up money in free agency with being way under the cap. Look at all the contracts on the Clippers books and how they all run out together. That's great planning by Lawrence Frank. That's great direction. Who's this hater, Adam? Next year already, huh, guys? Used to this, I take it. Mio said, if we have to gamble on either Ball or Young, I'll take Ball all day and twice on Sundays. He's 5 years younger, I think, LaMelo Ball. I would too. Okay, he's not. Trae Young's younger than I thought. That's my bad. He's only a little over 3 years younger. Mm, mm. Yeah, the defensive liability stuff with Trae is real, but there are ways to mitigate that. You build correctly around him. Coach D said Trae Young, Tyler Hero, Donovan Mitchell, Austin Reeves, Jalen Green, and Cam Whitmore are all available in 2027. And I would want them on the Clippers in that order. They won't all be available. They won't all be available at all. All those guys are going to end up getting new deals. First of all, Austin Reeves has a player option after this year. He's going to opt out after this year. He's going to be a free agent after this year. And a lot of these guys you're saying are all going to be available. They're all going to be under new extensions. Because if you look at who's available, that's going off of their current contract. That's not adding in the common sense of they're still going to get extensions and teams aren't going to let them go for nothing. You think the Heat are just going to let Tyler Hero get to free agency? Same with Donovan Mitchell. Guys, you got to read between the lines. Tom Raines said, I like Austin Reeves. I do too. Metal Slug 26 said, ticket sales are going to suffer without Kawhi or Harden on the team. Plumpy said, Lawrence will cook. Adam said, how about you give us Harden for Austin Reeves? Harden playing next to Luka? Mio said, is there no world where Ball and Harden could start together? Is there no world? There's a world. It might be Earth 9000. I don't know. Maybe Harden would be interested in that. Take the ball handling responsibilities off of him. Just go back to playing shooting guard. Maybe at his age, he'd be interested. I would be. Reason said Harden is getting a bigger contract, a 2-year with us that lines up with Kawhi's, or an even bigger payday that facilitates a trade. Harden's not going to sign into a contract to be traded to Charlotte. He's not going to do some sign trade. Hey, I'll do you guys a solid. You can trade me, and they're going to go, cool. We're sending you to Charlotte. That's not what's going to happen. Clay said a young superstar player would fit the Clippers. What team would not want a young superstar player? What about the teams that already have the young superstar? Why are they trading them is my question. Obviously, there's flaws. Lift said Clips can't start over. It's not an option. Yeah, not really. Rodder said, is Zubac's worth a number 2 pick? He just destroyed Spurs every game this year on the boards. Zoo playing next to Wemby because Wemby can shoot. I mean, that would be hell for everybody. Maybe. I mean, I think that highly of Zoo. Mio said Ball is 6'7". That's the tiebreaker between him and Trey. I get that. Trey has definitely been less of a wild card with his play compared to LaMelo. But again, it's Charlotte. How much can you take away from that? Scott said I'd take Ball over Young just because he's bigger and 3 years younger. Goofy said, how many picks do we get back after this first apron situation? The first apron situation is not the thing that's taking away picks from them. Metal Slug 26, we need defense. How dare you? Clay said LaMelo Ball, Paulo Banchero would be exactly what the Clippers need. Yeah, great. Why would Orlando give up Banchero? Lift said I'm taking Trey over LaMelo. Tom Raines said I think the Lakers are going to try and use Reeves and Connect to get a center. They don't even have to use Reeves. They got Mark Williams from Charlotte without using Reeves, just Connect. Clifford Dice said I'm late to live. What do you think we need to give up in a trade for LaMelo? A lot. Rewind. Coach D Sports Review said, I'm saying from that list, the Clippers need one of those players to request a trade to the Clippers for a big contract in LA. Just one of those guys. They all won't resign. They all won't resign, but I don't think any of them are going to hit. Maybe one is an unrestricted free agent. Yeah, I think the Clippers are waiting patiently for somebody to get disgruntled who's a really good younger star, and then they swoop in. They can't do it right now. They don't have the assets. But maybe 2026, more likely 2027. Y2 Kenyon said, I'm just not sure we were looking for chip versus filling seats with marquee names. That year we acquired Harden, we were winning before the trade, blowing teams out most nights with Covington. KMJ down low. Who? What? Covington was not. What are you talking about? Covington got traded for Harden. He wasn't even on the team that year. California kid said Lonzo and Harden in the backcourt. They would get hunted on the defensive end. Yes. Which season was the best season? 2021 when they went to the Western Conference Finals. I think would have beaten obviously Phoenix and probably Milwaukee if Kawhi didn't get hurt. Wait, did Shams said he's out now, Game 7? Because I saw it sounded like he was just doubtful. Y'all better be reporting accurately here. I won't stand for it. His status is in doubt. He's not out. This is the timeout. He did not say he's out for Game 7. This is a straight timeout for Goofy. We can't have this erroneous misinformation here. Edwards said he was going to re-sign PG and pay him more. He was not going to pay him more. He was only going to pay him $150 to line up with Kawhi and James Harden's contracts. Edwards in the struggle. Scott said unrelated. Josh Harden is like a less wild Westbrook. I can kind of see it, but so much less wild, it's not even worth the comparison. Can we build around Zoo? No, not to win a championship. Not unless he has an outside shot at some point. Metal Slug said, so Giannis not an option? No. Too many teams can way outbid the Clippers for Giannis. Teo said Clippers are waiting for 2027. They have lots of cap space in 2026 too. Again, Teo, here's the problem. You're not going to be able to get a superstar on a free agency list anymore. Those superstars aren't going to end up being unrestricted free agents. That's such a rare thing. So just having a lot of cap space doesn't help you get a superstar. You're going to have to trade for those superstars because they're assets, and teams aren't messing that up anymore. They're not letting them become unrestricted free agents and losing them for nothing. So that stuff, that's NBA past. Times have changed. Coach D said, would you trade Zoo for LaMelo? And probably not. And I don't know why Charlotte would do it anyways. They have Mark Williams. And Zoo is 5 years older. He doesn't fit their timeline. Edward said, they passed up on MBJ for Jerome Robinson. How's that for vision? How many other teams passed up on him? They also got Shea right beforehand after 10 teams passed on him. Seemed like they had pretty good vision there. I know, they traded him afterwards. Yes, because every GM in the history of basketball would have made that trade, Edward. At that time, Kawhi was the finals MVP. Paul George just finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year and MVP voting. Every GM in the history of basketball would have made that move at that time. You want to revisit it and dunk all over them and say, oh, it was a bad trade? It's like, great. Nobody thought that at the time. Nobody. Yeah, so would Charlotte, which is why it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't help. Mostly said, let's run it back and just add a big 4 and backup 5. They need a backup ball handler, too. I agree with this from Clay. Clint Capella, I like. Talked about Brook Lopez a lot to start, but I like Clint Capella. Obvious experience with Harden. I like Bobby Portis. He has a player option. He's likely going to be an unrestricted free agent. Metal Slug said phone battery is almost dead. Be right back. All right, man, we'll wait for you. I won't say anything until you get back. Who would I trade to get Giannis, Adam? Anyone on the Clippers, but they're not going to do it because they can get better. They can get younger. They can get more draft capital from other teams. There's no trade package that the Rockets, the Thunder, and the Spurs couldn't beat that the Clippers could offer. And those are just 3 teams. There's like 15 teams at least that can make a better trade package than the Clippers could for Giannis. So how are they going to get Giannis? Ryan said they need another offensive player. Well, that's specific. Enough with the Plum Dog. I love him, but come on. Coach D said, and another thing about that trade that people miss, if Kawhi doesn't go down in 2021, we go to the finals, in my opinion. It's not your opinion. That's a fact. Obviously, they go to the finals and they're beating Phoenix. If you want to argue they could have lost to Milwaukee, sure, I would have picked the Clippers to win. So let's skewer Lawrence Frank because he should have known Kawhi was going to tear his ACL during that run. Oh, he should have been able to predict that. The entire premise of the criticism is they never won the championship in the 2-1-3 era, when the reason for that is Kawhi tore his ACL. Why would the Hornets do that? What does Kawhi do for them? Edwards just yapping, as the kids say. I don't know, guys. If you can find a way to get LaMelo or Kuminga or both, or even Trey, if you're in the Clippers position, you might have to do it. Not going to be easy to get any of those guys, but given the prospects of the players that are going to be available later on, are you going to be able to do better? Maybe. There's something unforeseen that's going to happen. Some young star is going to have to get disgruntled. And one out of his team, and the Clippers slide right in, say, hey, we'll take them. They're also going to have the assets to do it. They don't have the ability to do that right now. You're right, Clay. The Kawhi and PG trade was a no-brainer at the time. There was no one saying, I don't know if you should do this. Everyone was fighting. It was the summer of Kawhi. Who's going to get Kawhi? And you're telling me now, oh, they should have done it? Come on. That was a good process trade. It didn't work out because of injury luck, bad luck. Well, he needs to make the most of his minutes. He's had minutes. He hasn't looked good in his minutes. He hasn't shot the ball well. He needs to be able to shoot. I don't know if you watch Quentin. Harden plus others for Trey. I don't know why Atlanta would do that. They're going to at least want one first. I mean, they got 2 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray. What do you think they're going to want for Trae Young? I know it's a different front office, but you're getting at least 2 first-round picks for Trae, I think. But maybe a first. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you make that work. They just don't have the assets if he becomes available. Nobody wanted PG. You're full of shit. PG finished top 3 in MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Timeout. Nobody wanted PG. He was in the prime of his career, coming off his best season. Top 3 in MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. You know how many guys have done that in NBA history? Nobody wanted PG at that time. Get the F out of here. I got a long memory, my friend. Coach D said, and Kawhi put us in a bind. I mean, according to reports, that's fair. Clay said, no, man, look back on the Clippers' assets, draft picks. How can you get Giannis or Tatum if you don't have at least 4 or 5 first-round picks? Yeah. Liv said we should have never traded for Harden. Harden's been a good Clipper. Like, period. Full stop. Clips or Die brings up a good point. How valuable are our picks if we plan on trying to remain competitive? Ballmer said he never wants to rebuild. Yeah, that's fair. What, they got pick 22 that's going to OKC this year, the Clippers? The revisionist history about the Kawhi PG trade is just laughable to me. I remember where I was. I remember all the calls I took that day. I did like a 3-hour Clippers talk show on AM 570. I didn't hear one person go, we shouldn't have done it. Not one. Silver didn't gift Luka to the Fakers. Nico Harrison did. Because he's in love with Anthony Davis and wants guys with the work ethic of Kobe Bryant. Malcolm Brogdon could definitely happen. Yeah, Harden carried the team. He was the MVP during the regular season for them. Well, they gave up the pick to get Harden to extend the era with Kawhi and Paul George, and they went on the best run in Clippers history in the regular season, 26-5, and they look like a championship team. But Kawhi got hurt. Jalen Green, that's interesting. I think he's very gettable. He's attainable from Houston. I don't think he was so bad at times in that playoff series. He's young. What is he? 22, 23? I'm not counting guys out that young. He's 23. It was his first playoff experience. He's just been such a hit and miss, swinger miss, swinger hit, miss, swinger and miss, feast or famine type of player. Very inconsistent, inefficient. I think they could get something decent for Norman Powell. He is a good trade asset coming off his best year. Well, you don't think they should have extended it, but at the time, the other options were what? Like once you go all in with guys like that, again, what are your other options? You just double down or triple down with the guys you got, or what? Goofy said our pick is 30th, which isn't great, but we can luck into a player like Cedric Howard. Not familiar. Personally, I'm hoping for Clayton Jr. since he has huge potential as a future point guard to replace James. Draft is such a crapshoot. I talk about this every single year, but I looked at a 10-year period from 2006 to 2016, and you only had a 25% chance of getting an all-star in the first 10 picks. So over 100 picks in the first 10 of each draft over a 10-year period, only 25 of those guys became all-stars. I agree with this. It's not all on Harden. He had a great game 1. He had a great game 6. He gave them 4 good to very good to great games. Hit or miss. Get it right. It's still not what I was looking for. Like feast or famine. Like boom or bust. Those are how the games go with Jalen Green. There's not really much in between. Jabari Smith, yes. I think Houston could trade either of those guys for the right price, but then again, they can go get Giannis if they want. They have the assets. I mean, I could argue he got better after he broke his leg. His most efficient seasons afterwards. I don't get that narrative at all. You can question his decision making, Paul George. Liv says you let them play it out and don't bail them out. Last year's team wasn't winning a championship even with healthy Kawhi. I wonder if you said that when they went 26-5 and blew out Boston in Boston. I wonder if you said that then. This has nothing to do with working for the team. It's about being logical and rational with criticism. I criticize when it makes sense. I don't when it doesn't. A lot of what you said doesn't make sense. It's just lashing out and being angry, but it's illogical. Garrett said, I think PJ Washington is a super interesting target, expendable now that Flag is there. I agree. You could trade Norman Powell, I think, and maybe get PJ Washington. Now, they might want somebody with more playmaking abilities, though, than Norman Powell is the problem with Dallas, with not having Kyrie Irving to start the year. Do we really know Cam Christie can be a player? I'm with you. He has a great shot. It's a complete unknown, though. We don't know who he can be yet. I like Tyus Jones. B said, "Oh, who are the backup point guards good enough to spell Harden in the playoffs without being a liability? Brogdon, Tyus Jones." Coach D said, "What if KD doesn't want to join the young Rockets and chooses to come to LA with some of his generation's super team net style? You want to make a trade with the Suns? You're probably giving up Norm and DJ for KD. I don't know. You lose a lot of depth. For a team with a bunch of older guys losing that much depth, guys that are going to be banged up and miss games, that's a problem." LT Senior said, "I'd love for Jalen Green to come to our team." Love is strong. Louis says the same thing every time. Liff said, "I did, my guy. That team was horrible on the glass. We didn't address that for this season as well." Sure you did. They went 26-5, blew out Boston in Boston, and everybody was saying the Clippers are the best team in the NBA during that stretch, and that's when Kawhi got the extension. Revisionist. Ooh. This is interesting. Garrett said, "Not sure if this has been talked about, but what about Harden sign and trade to Dallas for Washington, Gafford, and picks if LaMelo ends up in LA? That could give flexibility." I like this. I don't know if they'd give up that much, though, for James. I don't know how Nico Harrison views him, but I like this. I think what you'd be saying is Harden and Norm to Dallas for Washington, Gafford, and picks. I mean, Jordan Miller was a huge storyline throughout the beginning of the season. I talked about him a ton. We talked about him a ton on Clips and Dip. Goofy said Houston has the assets, but if they get Giannis, they'll also want a good role player to go alongside. So I say use Norm to get one of their young talent and some picks to stay competitive and be young. They definitely need shooting, the Houston Rockets, Goofy. Deals can be made with Houston. Why they tried to re-sign PG? Because they were trying to keep him with Harden, with Kawhi. After they had a 26-5 run, they were playing the best basketball in franchise history. Let me explain this again. They went 26-5 in 31 games, and they were dominant, and they were rolling teams last year. They wanted to keep that group together for 3 more seasons. That's why they wanted to sign PG. You can say all you want about this podcast. I'm more worried about that. 26-5. 26-5. They wanted to see what that group could do if they actually were healthy in a playoff series. They weren't last year against Dallas, unfortunately. This is true, but man, Harden next to AD, they need a table setter. If they had Harden, I think they would be like a real threat. If they get Kyrie healthy in time, they could be a real threat. I just don't know if that's going to happen off the ACL. Garrett said Washington and Gafford would have to be there for finances, I think. Also fits their win now timeline. I like, no, Garrett, where have you been? You used to be here a lot. I love your ideas. Liff said not a revisionist at all. The team had major flaws, but it is what it is. Okay, I'll take your word for it, Liff. Maybe you were saying it in the moment. I just didn't hear anybody because I remember doing shows then and everybody was talking about how great it was. Kawhi's back, second year off the ACL. and the Clippers have never looked better in the regular season, and then they gave him the extension. And everybody said it was great. So maybe you were the one detractor, defector. LT Senior said, "Yeah, Dallas would be going in reverse with Harden." I don't think they'd be going in reverse. Harden setting the table for them would do wonders. Coach D said, especially on a Ty Lue team, Jordan Miller just doesn't fit that 3-and-D role. Doesn't like how Ty develops young players. Jordan Miller lost his confidence in his shot. He stopped taking it. After he got wrecked by multiple guys who stopped him from going left at the rim, he lost his confidence. Goofy said Garrett cooked, but knowing Nico, he'll overpay and stick with Flag. Najee Marshall is also one I could throw into. Yeah, I like Najee. Clay said we need to forget about getting KD or Giannis, Phoenix or Bucks. They need at least 4 first-round picks and some solid players like Norm. Pretty much. Liv said I like the 3 of Harden, PG, and Kawhi, but I didn't like how the team was constructed around them. Okay. I don't think how the team was constructed around them was going to be, the status quo or maintain all those guys. Of course, the role players were going to change. He was going to have a summer to do stuff with that. To say that, it's just going to be the same exact group around those 3 for the next 3 years, I think is inaccurate. That's what Lawrence Frank's plan was. Like they could find ways to do some stuff on the margins. Edward said Garrett has great trades. God, Edward is so annoying. Jam said Bonesaw. James to Boston says Bonesaw. You're saying because they're going to be without Jason Tatum likely all of next year, so they might want James Harden to help. I mean, that's a big offensive. No, I don't think it'll happen. Hey, PJ Tucker signing. PJ Tucker is on the court. Human victory cigar, I guess. If PJ Tucker is out there, you're either getting blown out or blowing them out, which they are. Congrats to the Knicks to go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since '99. Garrett said, referring to LaMelo trade, think it would have to be 3 teams. San Antonio gets Kawhi and the number 4 pick. LA, Melo. Charlotte, number 2 pick, Vassell. Think this would make a lot more sense in conjunction with Harden deal. It's not crazy. It's just a lot. Mio said, here's what I don't like. PJ was talking like the Clippers were some 20-win team or something. He wanted to be on a contender. It's like Clippers won 50 games. And he's not playing. He's only playing now because they're up 32. I don't know. That situation was weird. Coach G said if we had this Kawhi last year, we'd probably beat the Mavs. Oh, they do. Probably crossed Lawrence's mind. I think it crossed Nico Harrison's mind. Honestly, one of the reasons I think Nico was willing to trade Luka is because Nico Harrison thought if the Clippers had Kawhi, we're not even getting out of the first round this year. So that whole run they made to the finals was fugazi in his mind because the Clippers would have beat him if they had Kawhi in the first round. I think that's how he was looking at it with Luka. Y2 Kenyon, pretty much everyone we have traded in the Kawhi era went to a team that won the chip. Goofy said, well, PJ is getting his minutes now. He could have been there on the bench like Patty Mills was, rooting guys on, being a good vet. Didn't happen. I don't get it. Whatever. Good luck to him. Al said Norm and Bogey for Dylan Brooks, Jock Londale, and Cam Whitmore. I like Dylan the villain. He can play for me. I don't mind this trade. Cam Whitmore. Why does that name sound familiar? Not gonna do it. Not going to do it. Garrett said, final idea. Giannis to LA. 3-team deal with Zoo to New Orleans. New Orleans returns Milwaukee's picks to them for the next 2 years. Clips send Norm plus to meet finances in 2 to 3 first. The Clips don't have. Huh? The Clips don't have 2 to 3 first. They have 1 first round pick they can move. I think that's 2031. B said there were stretches this year we were top 5 offense, defense, net rating. Do you think we are closer to win now or get younger? Here's the thing, guys. I asked this question again after asking it a week ago, and it seems more pertinent now. Let me ask you guys. If the Nuggets make this a long series or actually win against OKC, would that change your perception of how this Clippers season ended? I asked that on May 9th. I retweeted it last night and said, once again, I am asking because obviously they've made it a long series and they might win the series in 7 on Sunday. Do the Clippers look as far away to you as they did after losing to Denver, now that Denver is taking a 68-win team to 7 games and might win the series? To me, they don't. To me, the Clippers don't look that far away. To me, you can run this back, get a better backup big, a better backup point guard. If you can find that starting 4 who can shoot and play next to Ivica Zubac's, great. Good luck. It's not going to be easy. And retool and run it back and take your chances, because they may have just lost to a team that's going to the Western Conference Finals. Liff said, no, I'm not saying that would be the same role players. I'm just saying I didn't like how the team was constructed around them for that season. We had Man guarding the other team's best player. Man did a really good job in that series against Luka Doncic. Go look at the matchup data. Luka shot like 38% against him. I'm not saying it was perfectly constructed, but again, even if you're saying, no, I just meant for that year. Well, Lawrence Frank was looking at taking this thing further. Therefore, it wouldn't have just been that year with that particular set of role players. Goofy said, Al, you're cooking. Maybe replace Cam with Reed since Cam has been around longer. Bonesaw said, Clips stand pat. Trade this year? No. Trade this year. Playoffs this year. Sorry, brain malfunctioned. OKC has a pick swap with them this year. What are you talking about? That's why the Clippers are going to have pick 30. And trading pick swaps are not the same thing as trading first round picks. Milwaukee's not. That's not possible. That 3-way trade you brought up. This Clips and Norm plus to meet finances and 2 to 3 first. They have 1 first round pick that they own that they could trade. A fair contract, 2 years, $80 million for James Harden. It's a $5 million bump over what he was getting paid each year annually. Clips or die. We could have beat Denver. We were just gassed, honestly. I think we just tried to add a few pieces. I mean, look how gassed a young team in the Oklahoma City Thunder look. Look how tired they look. If they're going to be that tired, a young team like that, of course the Clippers were gassed playing in Denver. So I don't think they're that far away. I think a lot of you guys agree with that now. E. Damari said, no, honestly, we just need a better backup big and point guard. Mosi said we just need minor tweaks. Garrett said, if you want to stick with Kawhi and Harden, I think you need 3 guys: PJ Washington, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and a backup big. Maybe. Tom Rain said we lost Hartenstein because he got a decent-sized contract, right? I wish we could have held on to him as a backup. Yeah, they chose John Wall over him. That was a bad move. That's fair to criticize. Lawrence Frank, the front office, or some of the players who kept asking for a point guard over and over again, like Paul George. Coach Lou wanted him too. These guys were just set on, we have to get a point guard, we have to get a point guard. Well, the front office, the type of point guard they wanted was James Harden. They eventually got him, but before that, they cycled through all kinds of guys to try to appease the players. Dino Mari said, I feel like Harden gets tired and tired as the games go on. Yeah, well, he's going to be 36 next year. Y2 Kenny said no, because that could have been us, so he doesn't feel any better about Denver playing this well and the Clippers losing to them. We didn't play our best team, but I get it. You want to win with your marquee players on the court, whatever. I just like to win. You're the one. You're the one that just likes to win. LF said he did do good against Luka, but Luka was also playing hurt. Luka was less hurt in the first round than he was in the preceding rounds, or than he was in the later rounds, where he actually shot better against Lou Dort and other guys. So again, he was more banged up as the playoffs went along than he was in the first round against Terrence Mann and the Clippers. So I'm not using that as much of an excuse. Terrence Mann did a really good job on him. Shout out T-Man. X Mongo said, how many games do you think a healthy Kawhi plays next season? 55? Coach D says, no, it doesn't change my perception. At the end of the day, Kawhi wasn't playoff Kawhi. Harden did what he does. Ty Lue bad to start the series in bad lineups. Partially beat ourselves. Would lose to OKC. I mean, Jokic wasn't playoff Jokic. They did a great job against him. Credit Big Zoo. Everybody's going to feel their own way about it. I feel like it is encouraging overall, seeing how good Denver has been in the second round. The Clippers didn't lose to some slouch. They lost to a team with championship pedigree and DNA that was mentally tougher than them and might be mentally tougher than a 68-win team if they win on Sunday. Liv said, to be honest, I don't think we were that far away, but we played OKC. I think we would have lost. We don't match up well. Well, it's fair. I mean, they wouldn't have been favored. Nathan Cruz said, would you say the Clippers' dream target as a starting four is Cam Johnson? Sure. Cam Johnson has injury issues. I know it didn't show that this last year, but he can shoot. He can definitely play next to Ivica Zubac. He played 57 games, but 58 the year before that, 25, 17, 42. I like Cam Johnson, but he's probably going to cost too much. And yeah, I don't know if that's ideal. This is accurate. Clips or die. Nathan Cruz said, who are your ideal backup center targets via trade or free agency? I like Brook Lopez. I like Clint Capella. I like Steven Adams. Clay said, Adam, do you see any chance Harden could make a buy cut so we can sign solid pay cut so we can sign solid players? I don't think he's taking a pay cut. He's already missed out on money in his career. Garrett Griffin said, main dude they have to get off of is Norm. Can't have a 6'3" guard who can't dribble or defend in a lineup next to Harden. A guy like Nah is not a done level defender, but far better offensively. I agree. I'm a big fan of Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and I think Norm is a trade piece, and he deserves to get a 4-year contract or something like that, but I don't know if that lines up with the Clippers' plans. Goofy said, Adam, do you think trading for lottery picks is a good idea? Since the last one I remember was Denny Adbia traded to Portland for pick 14 in Brogdon. It seems too risky, but it worked for the Blazers. Trading for lottery picks? Trading who? Coach D said, in that game 7, we showed no heart. You really have to want it to win a championship, especially against better teams. Didn't see it in those close moments. Nuggets go to the finals, maybe. I'm just saying, if the Nuggets go to the finals, what if they won the whole thing? You lose to the champs. Not all first round series losses are created equally. The Clippers lost to a really good team in the first round. It was a 4-5 matchup. And Denver, quite frankly, they're better than a 4 seed when they're fully locked in, obviously. LT Sr. said if Harden, for whatever reason, decides he does not want to return to the Clippers, what kind of flexibility do we have? They got $35 million to play with. They got a lot of flexibility if Harden doesn't come back. The problem is, how do you replace that production with the guys that are available? You're not going to be able to find close to the point guard he is unless they make a trade then for LaMelo or Trae Young or somebody else. Nathan Cruz said, I don't think the Clippers should get LaMelo at least right now. I'm skeptical if he can contribute to winning basketball and he's injury prone. Here's the problem. I don't think they should get LaMelo at least right now. His stock is lower now. If you wait for him to play better, there's less of a likelihood that they're going to trade him or the Clippers would have enough to trade for him if he shows that he's a better player. You're going to have to take a risk at some point. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're going to have to go in on a guy who's maybe injury prone or play style, might not be winning with a basketball, and you're going to have to form him and turn him into a better player. If you want to get a young superstar, you have to get a guy that for some reason the team gave up on him. That means he has some flaws. Scott said Harden dropped 15 at back-to-back. Seemed like he didn't care in some of the playoff games for some of the season. Well, she said we should have played Amir at the done spot. He would have made those open threes. Defensively, he wasn't very good this year, but maybe. LT Sr. said defensive intensity picks up in the playoffs. Tough for Harden, really. Brown had him in handcuffs during certain stretches. He's had SGA in handcuffs at times. You guys watching this? Goofy said it would be pretty hype to see the Wolves and Knicks in the finals and see who actually won the cat trade in the end. Facts. Coach D said, I do agree we lost to a good team, former champs, and the best player in the world. No shame in that. My shame came in game 7. Completely fair. Completely fair, Coach D. The way they went out was sad. It was embarrassing. Orange Frank said it. Nathan said, remember last offseason when a bunch of Clipper Twitter wanted the Clippers to trade for Zach LaVine? Yeah. They were wrong. Kawhi was not average in the playoffs. I mean, I think Kawhi played as well as LeBron did in the playoffs this year. Edwards just angry and lashing out and being unrealistic and nonsensical. I might just have to hit the ignore. Nathan said, Harden back on a 2-year deal? Most likely. Garrett said, keep thinking about how the Clips season might have looked. Had we lost that game against Golden State at the end of the year, we might still be playing right now or never made the playoffs at all. Why look back like that? Y2 Kenyon says, then that could have been us. We had a better team. The coach lost games 1 and 4. I criticized him after game 1. I criticized him after game 4. I criticized him after the series. For all you that say, oh, you some Clippers lackey or sycophant or company man, I think it was fair to criticize some of the moves by Coach Lou in the series. I did. Jay said, heard of this guy, Terrence Mann. Long, can handle the ball, not superior on offense, but can defend pretty well. Sigh. They didn't look great in that playing game for Atlanta. X Mongo said the additional Nuggets game due to some quirks sucks. Never knew it would have huge implications. Oh, I warned about it when it was rescheduled. That Nuggets game, they only were scheduled for 3. After the in-season tournament, one of the rescheduled games was them against Denver, so therefore they could tie the season series at 2-2. They had the tiebreaker. They had home court in the first round. Otherwise, the Clippers would have had it. I had to make this count. Said LaMelo is losing player, to be honest, but I still trade for him. I think it's a losing argument to say that a guy this young is a losing player when he has been in Charlotte. I think he is unknown at this point who he can be. D. Damari said, will we have to give up Zoo in the trade to get LaMelo? Hopefully not. Nathan Cruz said, what will the LaMelo trade look like? Norm, Zoo, and picks. I don't think Norm and Zoo. I don't think they do it. I already talked about it earlier. You can rewind. Clay said, I think we should target Julius Randle, Bobby Portis, John Collins, the 4 spot, all of them. One of those guys can shoot. Well, 2 of them, I guess. LT Senior said, I'm all in on LaMelo. Dude is still really young. Clipper Dye said, I would love LaMelo, but don't see how we get him. He would have to demand a trade to the Clippers. It might have to be after this next year to have a chance to get him, but what if he has a big year? Kawhi had 22, 5, and 3 in a game 7. They didn't even play the entire game 7 because they were getting blown out. I don't think your numbers were right anyways. He averaged 25 on 54% shooting and 41% from 3 in the series. I think that's pretty good. Plus 8 boards and 5 assists. So, Edward, you're just wrong. I had to make this account said Harden looked bad because Ty Lue relies so much on ISO ball as the first option on offense. Here's the deal. When you have good ISO players, you tend to lean into playing more ISO ball. They have 2 of the greatest isolation players in NBA history. I know you guys are all coaches and could probably drop, a Spain pick and roll, I'm sure, on a whiteboard, but let's let Ty cook. His offense has been pretty darn good. Clipper Dye said, plus the middle's mom was my PE teacher in middle school. Cool. Clay said, I don't know what trade he's referring to. I had to make this count. Said Coffee really should have played, in my opinion. Garrett said, I get the skepticism about LaMelo, but I think he's extremely talented, and his best teammates have been Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier. Get him real structure and coaching, and I think it's different. This is what I'm saying. He's been in really terrible, miserable situations. Dip him into Clippers culture. Yes, structure is a great word to use. He needs it. He needs some, fine tuning. Elsie said, I agree. Clay, I don't know what he's talking about. Nathan said, as a Clippers talk radio host, do you travel with the team? I do not, unfortunately, or fortunately. I'm sure some people hate the travel. I'd love to do it at least for a year. 3 trade days said, and we got to trade Norton Powell and Coffee and Kobe Brown. Coach D Sports said, I do think trading T-Man was a mistake. Have a knockdown shooter in that done corner and a good defender for Jamal would have changed that series. Maybe T-Man would have gave them a better shot in that series. Bogey wasn't great. They also got 3 second-round picks for Terrence Mann. And off of a contract that a lot of people said, I don't know if this is going to age well. I think it's going to end up being a good trade. But I wish Terrence Mann all the best. Clipper Dye said, LaMelo is just so fun to watch, man. He's like NBA 2K in real life. He has a star presence to him. Not only is he an all-star caliber player, he's made an all-star team. Melo's from LA. Maybe he wants to come home. Oh, I think he does. Marvin Bagley, sure. Goofy said, when is Clips and Dip going over draft picks since I feel we can get either really unlucky with Kobe Brown. Sorry, Kobe, you're lucky to get a decent role player like Aldama. Maybe next week. Nathan Cruz said, who do you got going to the finals? I picked OKC in New York a couple days ago. Renzo said, I'm late. Why is this a topic? Is there's a real chance to get him? If you're late, you can always rewind. That's what's good about this. How are you doing tonight? Says Optimus Prime 1213. Not too bad, I hope. I'm doing okay. Are you good? All right, guys. I think I'm good here. I know why my throat is. Need a Rico lozenge or something. Tea and honey. Well, Nathan, it would depend on what they give up for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant to any team would be good for them. But then again, what are you giving up? What is the trade? Ex Mongo Project said, if we get LaMelo, are we looking to trade for Lonzo? I mean, that's the dream, right? That might be an entertaining regular season if that happens. Yeah, it's a lot of ifs, but yeah. Optimus Prime is just laying down. Does that mean you're in truck form or robot form? Uh-huh. Al said Norman Bogey for Josh Green and Josh Okogie and Grant Williams. Eh, meh. All right, guys. Appreciate you all. What's in the water? It's some free workout drink that has some caffeine in it. Thanks, Coach. Okay. Nathan said Norm, Bogey, DJ for KD. I think about that. The guy I think you're missing most there is DJ. But I'd think about that, yeah. I'd probably do it. Edward said, being a Clippers fan sure ain't easy. Not for the weak. All right. I'm weak. We're at 2 hours and 1 minute. About to be 2. I'm tired. It's been a long day. I love you all. You know that. Even if maybe you were putting time out during this episode. You know, there's only one of those. Just for misinformation. Come on. I want to see what some of this celebration is like right now in New York at Madison Square Garden. Is they're making the conference finals for the first time since, the 99-2000 season. Or no. The 99 team is the one that lost to the Spurs in the finals. Who was on the 2000 team? I didn't remember that Knicks team making. Oh, they did. They lost to Indiana, who lost to the Lakers in the finals. I forgot New York made the Eastern Conference Finals. So then in back-to-back years. So the first time since 2000, first time in 25 years. So yeah, Knicks, enjoy it. Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to comment about LaMelo in the comment section. Be good. Love your neighbor. Appreciate you all. Talk to you soon, Clipper Nation.